Minneapolis, they average about 12 degrees, which is minus 11 Celsius. In Bismarck, North Dakota, it's 9 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly minus 13 degrees Celsius. And then...
No chance. Okay, you know what? I love America, but the winters, I probably would like to stay in Europe. Just saying. What's up, my friend? Today I'll be reacting to 3 ways British and American winters are very different. But before I go into that, can I ask you for one thing? If you can leave a like on this one, thank you so much for that. It's the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, oh man, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description. I love Lawrence, give him some love. That said, let's play it.
Well now, I can't quite remember, but it's very possible that I've talked about British and American winters before. But when I talk about American winters, I very often focus on those of the Midwest, because that's where I live. But I was reading the other day that America has places outside of Illinois, and in that moment it occurred to me that the winters that I endure here in Chicago are not in fact the reality for millions of Americans. This is a massive country. How big? About the size of 40 UKs. And so, of course, it stands to reason that with all of that latitude, there's just going to be a greater variety of winter weather across the entire country. And because I...
Okay, from what I understand, and this is logic, south is a bit... It's okay, the winters are good. The north, forget about it. The closest you get to Canada, things get really tricky.
I may have given a false impression to my British viewers that the whole of America is one big tundra. I wanted to look at that variety and how it compares with Britain.
Okay.
You know, I've lived in the north of England, I've lived in the south of England, I've lived in Indiana, and I've lived in Illinois. And in each of those cases, there's a favourite pastime among the people at the very moment that we change the clocks ahead of the looming winter. And that's when people say, "Ooh, I can't believe how early it gets dark these days."
Okay, this also happens here a lot.
That was my best impression of a Hoosier. And something I've learned between living in all of those places is that it all comes down to perspective. What do I mean by that? Well, everybody is saying the same thing. And yet from place to place, there are wild differences in when the sun actually sets.
Okay.
To see what I mean by this, let's take a look at the shortest day of last year, December 21st. On December 21st, the Orkney Islands off the north coast of Scotland experienced a sunset at Austin 3:16 p.m. But
oh, that's crazy, actually.
for me, growing up in England, that's extreme. As far as the United Kingdom...
No, that's extreme. Here where I live, basically 5 p.m., between 5 to 6 p.m. Becomes dark in winter, of course. But earlier than that, no.
Goes, the Orkney Islands are far north. But even so, in my hometown of Grimsby, it would get dark about 40 minutes earlier than it does here in Chicago. And then, of course, you have the east to west difference. So, for example, in the southwest of Britain, the sun sets about half an hour later than it does in Dover in the southeast. Luckily, that kind of thing is relatively easy to follow in Britain because it's all on one time zone. The United States, meanwhile, operates on 6. And this has been very confusing for me because I've lived at the eastern side of the central time zone and the western side of the eastern time zone. And so on December 21st in Chicago, the sun completely set at 4:23. But in Indianapolis, where I
oh no, that's too early.
Previously lived, it set at 5:23. And you might be thinking, well, that makes sense. For every time zone from west to east, you add on an hour. But when it comes to sunsets and science, it's not that easy. If it was, Philadelphia wouldn't have got dark at 4:39. And this can be found across 6 different time zones. So if you're the sort of person who's looking to move to America, but you hate it when it gets dark early, pro tip, move to the westernmost point of any time zone. Of course, there are major...
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm actually understanding this, but I never thought about this in America, I have to be honest.
Caveats to that. If you're one of the millions of people who's got your heart set on the tropical paradise that is Barrow, Alaska, you might be interested to learn about its December 21st sunset. It didn't have one. The town has been enveloped in darkness since my birthday. That was 2 months ago. Of course, much...
What? Oh boy. Jesus, Alaska is a special place. Let's put things that way. Wow. I know this also happens in countries like Sweden, Norway, a bit more at the top, so kind of makes sense, but it's always crazy. I mean, And again, now makes sense, but I never thought about that in Alaska.
Much of Alaska is also an incredibly cold place.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
everywhere can say the same thing. You know, when I was
0 to 60.
younger, I couldn't really imagine saying this, but I sort of miss British winters. By Chicago standards, they're not that bad. So let's take the month of January as our example. Some of the lowest temperature averages you'll find in Britain are in the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah.
And in the Scottish Highlands, in the month of January, it probably averages about -1 degree Celsius. For completists and my American audience, that's about 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Of course.
Yeah, this is here. That's cold, honestly, but there is certain places in Portugal that can go like that can and have temperatures similar to that, but that's really, really cold.
As with all of these averages, it can be colder or warmer on given days, but that's the January average. Down in Cornwall, in the southwest of
Oh, that was the average. Yeah, the average here is a bit higher. Portugal is very, even in the winter, is quite sunny, to be honest.
England, you're looking at about 43 degrees Fahrenheit. And so in January, Britain, on the whole, averages between those two numbers.
Yeah.
But in America, just like the land itself,
Portugal is probably even a bit hot, but those temperatures, we experience them here also.
those temperature ranges are so much bigger. So in Chicago, the January
Really?
average is about 25 degrees, and for my British viewers, that's roughly -4 Celsius. And Chicago, cold though it is by no means...
No. Wait, what? Did I understood that correct? Sorry, I have to run it back. This is very important, as you guys can imagine.
much bigger. So in Chicago, the January average is about 25 degrees, and for my British viewers, that's roughly -4 Celsius. And
-4? Oh, no, that's crazy cold. What's going on? Oh, man, I hate cold.
Chicago, cold though it is by no means the coldest place in the US. In Minneapolis, they average about 12 degrees, which is -11 Celsius. In Bismarck, North Dakota, it's
No.
9 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly -13 degrees Celsius. And then
No chance. Okay, you know what? I love America, but the winters, I probably would like to stay in Europe. Just saying.
this one is just stupid. In Fairbanks, Alaska, the average in January is -11 degrees Fahrenheit, or -24 Celsius. And those are the
Dude, I don't even know how that feels. I'm gonna be honest. Whoa, okay, this blew my mind. I'm sorry, my friend. I know you guys don't like this, but I'm gonna run it back because this is crazy information for me. I knew it was quite, quite different, but really this different.
so much bigger. So in Chicago, the January average is about 25 degrees, and for my British viewers, that's roughly -4 Celsius.
It's already
And
crazy.
Chicago, cold though it is by no means the coldest place in the US.
Oh, man.
In Minneapolis, they average about 12 degrees, which is -11 Celsius. In Bismarck, North Dakota, it's 9 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly -13 degrees Celsius. And then this one is just stupid. In Fairbanks, Alaska, the average in January is -11 degrees Fahrenheit, or -24 Celsius. And those are the places
Okay, Alaska, it's crazy, but North Dakota is also so cold.
as I like to say, that are unfit for humans. But what if I told you there were parts of America that require not thick, heavy coats and stupid winter hats, but just a jumper and or sweater?
Texas, Alabama, Arizona, New Mexico. You gotta think, oh wow, André knows the states. Yeah, my friends, I've been studying this. Colorado, I'm not sure actually. But the Texas, Arizona, I bet will be on the list.
And some pants of some kind. I'm not suggesting people
But
walk
my
around
friends,
in their underwear.
I will run it back, don't worry. But I believe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4, but I believe maybe 2 or 3, I saw on the news that Texas had a crazy amount of snow. What happened? I was like, wait, what? Texas, really? Okay, I mean...
Jumper and or sweater. and some pants of some kind. I'm not suggesting people walk around in their underwear. Well, this is the reality in parts of Southern California, Southwest Arizona, South Texas, and New Orleans. And in all of those places, I imagine there are times when people can get away with just wearing a t-shirt, and again, pants as well. And in Miami,
I feel like California and Portugal are very similar in terms of weather, actually.
I almost guarantee it, because there they average January temperatures of 69 degrees. And to be clear, that is in Fahrenheit, otherwise it would look like the beginning of Terminator 2. In Celsius, that's over 20 degrees. In January, as an...
Oh no, that's too hot, actually. Okay, my friends, love all of you guys watching, but this is probably the video that blew my mind the most. Wait, 20 degrees in January? I mean, we get... Actually, I can see on my computer. Give me a second. Oh, man, it's not appearing. But I would make a guess. I think right now is like between 10 to 15 degrees. But 20 is a lot. I mean, 20 is almost summer. What is going on?
An average. And so sometimes it'll go above that and people presumably head to the beaches. And while I'm on the verge of getting envious, I just then remember I don't like people. So the winter beaches here in Chicago are more my style. I don't have style. And crazily, that's not even the warmest average. In Honolulu, you're looking at 73 degrees. So where might you find British-like winter?
Honolulu is Hawaii, right?
To temperatures. Well, as ever, you're likely to encounter those in the coastal areas of the Pacific Northwest, but also in a vast part of the country that's sort of south of the Midwest, but north of the Deep South. Basically, the northern South. That made way more sense in my head. In other words, if you're looking for those same temperature ranges that we saw with the Scottish Highlands and Cornwall, then a decent comparison would be New York City, where it's 32 degrees, down to Atlanta, where it's 43. Oh, and speaking of Atlanta, that brings us on to this. One of the most prominent features of winter, of course, is snow. And you might be thinking, what relationship does Atlanta have with snow? More on that in a minute. But Britain, where I'm from, does get snow. Usually, and disappointingly, not quite enough snow to make a snowman. Though there have definitely been exceptions over the years, especially in Scotland, where they see more than the UK average. But for the most part, it doesn't often get bad enough that you'll see somebody wearing this. Of course, in Chicago, where it snowed in fact today, it's absolutely crucial. But there are some places in the US, including upstate New York, that get even more snow than Chicago. And don't just take my word for it. Here,
actually, I love to see image of New York with snow. I actually think looks quite kind of beautiful, my friends.
Here's me from 2 years ago. But funnily enough, New York City and just sort of downstate New York in general doesn't actually get snow on the level that you see in the rest of the northeast of the United States that we touched on here in this very video. The heavy load is actually carried by upstate New York. It gets a ton of snow, and it's all down to lake effect weather. So the likes of Buffalo and Rochester, they get nearly 100 inches of snow. That is mental, but it's not as mental as the city of Syracuse, which gets 123.8 inches a year on average. That's mental. It's also, for that reason, the snowiest city in the lower 48 of the United States. And I know what you're thinking, how dare you, sir, accuse Syracuse of being the worst? You didn't think that. I just like wordplay. Indeed, in that video where inexplicably I speak really fast and with a posher accent, I cover 6 other states that get way more snow than Britain. I'll link to that one at the end. But once you get south of the Mason-Dixon line, snow becomes more of a rarity. So Atlanta, which doesn't typically see a lot of snow and because of that isn't as prepared for it as, say, Chicago, closed schools and declared a state of emergency amid 4 inches of snow.
Okay, so maybe this was what happened with Texas, because I remember there was a lot of panic in Texas because of the snow. And that made me believe that was rare. So basically what he's saying there, people are not prepared and all of a sudden everyone is in panic mode. Is that basically a correct assumption? Another thing that I want to say is, where I live, I don't live in Lisbon, but I live fairly close to Lisbon, special for American standards. It's very close. Yeah, there is no snow. Lisbon also have no snow, if you guys are curious. But yeah, I mean, I saw snow already, don't worry. But I have to go to specific places here because my city, I have no snow.
and temperatures that were in the 20s. Remember, temperatures like that...
Sorry for another pause, but I say this all the time, and it's something that I strongly believe. Christmas looks beautiful with snow. If I could pick one time of the year to snow in my city, it would be Christmas. 100%.
Are extremely low for Atlanta, which in January on average is about 15 to 20 degrees warmer than Chicago, but it ain't got nothing on Miami, where snow is incredibly rare. Miami has issued 0 reports of snow flurries since 1977. Star Wars hadn't come out yet, Charlie Chaplin was still alive, and John Cena wasn't yet. Other honourable mentions among the low snow brigade include the Deep South, Southwest Arizona, and the West Coast.
Wait, but there is no snow in in California probably there is because it's too big, but in cities like Los Angeles there is snow. Maybe this is a dumb question and there is. I thought that was not the case.
Than that, America is pretty snowy, so wrap up warm and get yourself a shovel. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below your winter weather. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel so that these videos don't get lost in the pond. And today, become one of my 370 plus patrons to make this channel even better. To do that, go to patreon.com/LostInThePond. Until the next video, goodbye.
Man. Okay, should I react to this one? 7 states with way more snow than England. You know what, let's do a poll that only the people that watch until the end are aware. Leave the number 7 in the comments. Because of 7 states. Yeah, that was not super smart. But leave the number 7 if you want me to react to this one. Vermont, really? We may have to check this. My friends, that's everything for today. Hope you end up enjoying this video. Quick thoughts, actually. Lawrence, what an amazing content creator. I love to react to his stuff. He explains this very well. This blew my mind. I mean, honestly, I was aware that America was quite cold, specific the north, but the numbers they end up showing there, I don't even know how I would feel. I assume really bad when I experienced that intention cold, but yeah, it's still crazy to me. So my friends, again, repeating myself one more time, do not forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, all the good stuff. See you guys next time. Bye.